Welcome to The Art of the Matter, a place where we delve into the stories behind great works of art. I'm your host, Nicola, artist, educator, and lover of the stories behind every brushstroke. Today we're stepping into a sun-dappled French garden. It's the summer of 1873. The air is warm, heavy, and with the scent of blooms and freshly cut grass in the air. Dappled light filters through the trees, painting everything in patches of light and shadow. And it's here, in this seemingly perfect sanctuary, that we find a scene of quiet complexity. Claude Monet's Camille Monet on a garden bench. Picture it with me. There are three figures. On an ornate iron bench sits the artist's wife, Camille. She leans slightly forward, her body angled towards us, dressed in a striking black and white outfit, a stark contrast to the lush greenery. She holds our gaze. Her eyes are direct, captivating, but there's an unease in them, a tension. Leaning on the back of that same bench, a gentleman in a smart suit hovers behind her. His posture is intimate, conversational, and besides Camille, a splash of vibrant colour, a bouquet of flowers, likely a gift from him. It looks like a polite, garden variety social visit, until you see her hands. She's wearing white gloves, and in one of them she holds a letter. But Monet doesn't paint the letter in detail. It's just a single horizontal brushstroke of greyish white, a small mark that changes everything. It cracks the idyllic surface of the painting wide open, because art historians believe that that single brushstroke represents a piece of devastating news, likely a death notice. We know this because, in Monet's own letters, dated September 1873, he wrote, "A piece of bad news awaited my wife. Her father died yesterday." This painting was created in that very period. It freezes a moment of personal, silent grief intruding on a perfect summer's day. A story of what happens when real life, in all its painful complexity, wades into the tranquil waters of art. To truly understand the tension in this scene, we need to look at Monet's life at this precise moment. This garden in Argenté represented everything he had struggled to achieve. After years of brutal poverty, so severe that his friend Renoir would bring bread in his pockets when visiting, Monet was finally finding success. By 1873, he was earning a lawyer's salary and could afford this house with its garden. Yet those lush geraniums and tidy paths reveal more than prosperity. They reveal aspiration. Monet was painting not just what he saw, but the stability he longed for. Now let's return to those three figures. The man leaning towards Camille has been interpreted as everything from an admirer to Death himself. In reality, he was their neighbour, Eugène Manet, brother of the famous Edouard. Wealthy and cheerful, he was a key supporter of the Impressionists. He embodied the social world Monet aspired to be part of. But what of the third figure, the woman in the background, half hidden beneath her parasol? She doesn't engage with the central drama. Instead, she studies the flower bed, quietly absorbed. Is she a discreet chaperone, or a reminder that ordinary life continues indifferent of private grief? Her presence adds a subtle, almost cinematic layer of isolation to the painting. Camille Donchou had been Monet's model long before she had been his wife. Their relationship was scandalous. She bore his first son out of wedlock, and Monet once abandoned her, pregnant and penniless, to protect his allowance from a disapproving aunt. They finally married in 1870, when marriage offered him exemption from military service. By 1873, Camille could finally appear as Madame Monet, yet her performance seemed strained. Her formal city dress, perhaps even containing mourning details, feels like a costume. To understand the weight of that costume, we need to understand the rigid boxes society had for women at that time. In the bourgeois world Monet was trying to conquer, women were largely defined by one of two archetypes: the angel in the house or the fallen woman. The angel was the ideal, the respectable wife and mother, the moral centre of the home, modest and virtuous and financially dependent. She was the emblem of her husband's success, but also his property. The fallen woman was the opposite, the courtesan, the mistress, the model, the working class girl who dared to have a sexual life outside of marriage. She was desired but despised, a source of artistic inspiration but a social liability. Camille was trapped between these two worlds. She was a bourgeois daughter who fell into the fallen woman category by becoming an artist, model, and lover. Her very presence in Monet's early work, sensual, alive, often lying on the grass, marked her as outside of respectable society. The critic who noted she was not a woman of the world wasn't just commenting on her walk. He was pointing out she didn't have the polished, restrained performance of a bourgeois wife and didn't know how to wear the costume. And Monet's own condescending description of her as a good girl who must learn to be sensible is dripping with this class and gender anxiety. Sensible here doesn't mean intelligence. It means compliant, thrifty, knowing her place, becoming the angel to help him build his respectable home. So when we look at the bench, we are seeing Camille's agonizing attempt to inhabit the role of the angel. The garden, a symbol of domestic bliss, becomes a stage. The elaborate dress is her uniform, but she wears it with stiffness of an actor in a play she never rehearsed. She is performing respectability for a society and for a husband that never really granted it to her. This is what makes the presence of the other woman in the painting so poignant. If Camille is failing at her performance, the other woman might represent its successful execution. She is absorbed in her role as a discreet, observant presence in the garden, the very picture of bourgeois feminine propriety. She is a silent mirror to Camille's struggle. So what are we truly seeing in the bench? It's not a tranquil garden scene, but a portrait of dissonance. A woman performing a role that never quite fit, in a dress that feels like a cage. A husband painting his wife not as she is, but as he needs her to be seen. A moment where the brilliant impressionist sunlight can't quite reach the shadows beneath. The shadows of class, of scandal, and of the self that was being painted over. But this emotional tension is built with a revolutionary technique. Come close to the bench and the scene dissolves. The surface isn't smooth, but alive with flickering, broken brushstrokes. This was the pulse of Impressionism, capturing not a fixed reality, but the fleeting sensation of a moment. To feel how radical this was, we must step back into the art world Monet was tearing down, the world of Neoclassicism. Imagine the Parisian art establishments of the mid-19th century. The Academy ruled, and its gospel was Neoclassicism, a style resurrecting the ideals of ancient Greece and Rome. Its principles were absolute. Line over colour. The perfect drawing came first. Colour was just a fill-in. The ideal over the real. Why paint a flawed person when you could paint a god? It was art as perfection. Grand narratives. Subjects were moral, historical, and mythological. Jacques-Louis David's Oath of the Horatii, a drama of duty and sacrifice, was art with a capital A, meant to instruct. Other absolute principles included the invisible hand. The artist's brushwork was erased. The canvas was a flawless window onto a perfect world. So the ideal was order, perfection, and timelessness. Monet shattered that window. He and the Impressionists declared a new truth. Where Neoclassicism prized line, Impressionism worshipped light. They abandoned the outline. A form was built from dabs of coloured light. A shadow wasn't grey, it was blue or violet. Where Neoclassicism sought the ideal, Impressionism celebrated the everyday. They painted the modern life, picnics, cafes, and gardens like this one. And most radically, where Neoclassicism hid the artist's hands, Impressionism made it the star. Every visible brushstroke was a record of a glance, a heartbeat, and it said, I was here, and this is how I felt. And it is with this understanding that we find the profound paradox in the bench. As, for all its technical rebellion, Monet still viewed his wife through a deeply traditional lens. Camille was his essential subject, the perfect body of light for his new language. Yet as a person, her own reality was often secondary. He painted the light of her dress, the shadow beneath her parasol, while the very tensions she embodied, the struggle to be seen as more than a muse, are what give the painting its quiet power. So where Jean-Auguste Dominique Ingres gave us polished marble, Monet gave us shimmering atmosphere. Where Neoclassicism saw perfection, the ideal form, the flawless contour, the eternal moment, Impressionism embraced sensation, the fleeting glow, the blurred movement, the ephemeral now. Think of Ingres' Grande Odalisque. In this, her body is a collection of impossibly smooth sculptural forms. The light doesn't play on her skin, it simply defines her volume. She exists in a silent, timeless vacuum. It is art as an intellectual ideal. Now look at Monet's Camille. She is not a statue, but a presence. She is made from the same dappled light and restless brushstrokes as the garden around her. She is of her moment, not outside of it. Where Ingres delivers a lesson of beauty and line, Monet offers an experience of a specific afternoon with a specific feeling. And with this painting, we witness a crucial turning point in art history, one that plays out in Monet's own career. The bench represents the last time a nuanced human story sits so clearly at the centre of his world. For that very same year, he painted another view of the garden, the luncheon. The angle is almost identical, but in this the people are gone. The bench sits empty, a table stands abandoned, and a chair pushed back as if someone has just left. It feels like an afternoon, a stage after the actors have exited. From this moment, the human figure begins a steady fade from Monet's work. The bridge at Argenteuil, the Gare Saint-Lazare, the popular series, light becomes his true subject, his only subject. The human form was demoted from protagonist to a mere accessory, another surface for the light to play upon, no more significant than a haystack or a cathedral facade. This artistic shift feels prophetic, even tragic, as just a few years later, Camille was dead, and in his final, devastating portrait of her on her deathbed, Monet's obsession with light finds its most harrowing expression. In this, he painted her passing not as a spiritual transition, but as a visual one, desperately noting the colours, the blues and the greys, as they faded from his skin. He confessed he was driven by an automatic impulse to capture the last image. In the end, the muse, who was so often a surface for his light, literally vanished before his eyes. His legacy, therefore, is a double-edged one. Monet is rightly celebrated as the father of modern painting, the man who liberated colour and brushstroke from the demands of realism. He paved the way for every abstract artist who followed by proving that subject was less important than the painter's perception of it. But his journey also serves as a poignant eulogy. In pursuing the truth of light, he gradually let go of the truth of human connection. The bench is a beautiful, bittersweet fulcrum, the moment we see both the height of his human engagement and the beginning of its long, beautiful, and lonely farewell. So when you look at the bench, what do you see? A scene of social harmony, or a moment trembling with unspoken tension? A celebration of light, or a eulogy to the person who reflected it? Thank you for joining me. I'm Nicola, and this has been The Art of the Matter. Until next time, keep looking.